Hey, this is Mike from the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm reviewing Sorcerer and its new expansion, Sorcerer Endbringer. This is a competitive, card-based battling game, sort of Magic the Gathering-ish, that now with Endbringer also has solo and cooperative play. And disclaimer, I received a review copy of the core game and the expansion. So in Sorcerer, each player chooses from several different types of decks and shoves them all together to create a combined deck. And from these cards, they'll play minions, boost them with attachments, play sorceries to affect the battles. And whether you're playing solo or co-op, you are competing over 3 different battlefields in dice-based combat, with the game alternating between the action phase, where you're playing cards, building up energy, and the battle phase, where you see how everything turns out with your minions. And to play cards and affect the battlefield, you'll be using action, paying energy in a quick-based system where it alternates between players turn by turn. So let's get to 5 key things about Sorcerer, and I will talk in pretty much all my points about both the competitive and the cooperative play. So starting with number 5 point, this is a con for my taste, and that is how the co-op works, specifically in the Endbringer mode. Because you can play with 1, 2, or 3 players, each with their own deck. Really, the cooperation just boils down to talking about who's going to play units where and who's going to fight where and how you're going to divvy up damage. They very specifically limit you so that you cannot boost each other's units, which is okay, but not that exciting. On top of that, you can have a lot of units in a given battlefield because they don't really shrink things down. They just multiply everything out with more players. So eventually I've found, even with just 2 players, it can get really too much to handle, and waiting for the enemy turns to go can be a little bit onerous. So when it comes to co-op, honestly, this is mostly a solo game for me. I haven't enjoyed my 2 and 3 player games that much. Well, my number 4 point is a straight-up pro for my taste, and that is the 3 battlefield structure. And it's funny, this is actually very similar to Marvel Snap, which came out way after the original Sorcerer came out. But there is a great tension in the game because whether you're playing competitive or cooperative, you'll see the enemies putting out units in these areas, and you have to decide how much you want to block them, how much you want to commit where. Do you want to put a ton of people in one place and just hope you survive in another one? And then on top of that, you're putting your avatar out, which will allow you to use even more powers. And in the solo co-op mode, their avatar goes into 2 areas. And yeah, just this give and take and tension of fighting over multiple places at once is really cool and gives the game a unique feel. Next at number 3 is the core action and card play in the game. And this is a mix for my taste. So first, a positive, the action system is very quick. Each player just does a single action, then the next player goes, and the next player goes. That can be as simple as getting more energy, drawing more cards, or playing a single card. And in the solo co-op Endbringer mode, it's also very quick. You just flip a card from the enemy, do whatever quick effect it says at the top, and move on. You do that after each player's action. But on the negative side, there is no inherent card draw in the game, and you also don't tend to get as much energy as you need, so you'll often take several turns just building up energy and drawing cards into your hand. And those can feel a bit like dead turns, and especially when you're playing a multiplayer free-for-all, or like I said, 2 or 3 player co-op where you have to resolve multiple enemy cards before you get another turn. The action play is often tense, but not always. For my next point at number 2, I'm looking at the battle system in the game, and this is going to be a mix and could be potentially the most off-putting thing about the game. So in the battles, after you've done all your actions and set things up, you'll take turns tapping minions and rolling in dice-based combat to see how much damage you deal. But in a cool touch, the defender decides how damage is assigned, whether their units die or not, how much is assigned to the battlefield itself, or in solo co-op to your shared life pool. But then special results called crits allow the attacker to assign where the damage goes. So again, there's some nice tension and some choices here in how you divvy up your damage when you let things die. But on the negative side, this is a very swingy element, although there are a lot of ways to re-roll dice. You can still re-roll the same bad thing, and if you just get a lot of misses in competitive, you can fall behind the 8 ball. But if you hate randomness, the enemies in the solo co-op mode just deal their damage automatically, no rolling involved. But because of that automatic damage, and because the way that they assign their damage is a known quantity for the player, I do find that while the battles are more deterministic in the solo co-op mode, they also lose a little bit of the tension and excitement. So it's still a bit of a mixed bag in both modes for me with combat. But my number 1 point for the game easily is the card combining system. Like I said at the beginning, you pick one character, you pick a lineage, you pick a domain, and you just shove all those cards together. So it's almost a deck construction system, but super simplified and super quick, and you can even just randomly pick and still have a good time. Now, to be clear, so you don't get too excited, each of the card types tends to be somewhat insular in its combos, like vampires will work with vampires and rats will work with rats, but you can still find ways to bring them together and make cards do cool things with each other. And in a super nice touch, the Endbringer mode has the exact same thing. You can have scenarios and different armies the enemies are leading and different nemesis with their own mechanics. So you have the exact same mix and match options and fun modularity in the solo co-op mode on the player side and on the enemy side. Super cool. So overall, if you like Magic the Gathering style card games or Smash Up or Marvel Snap, you might enjoy Sorcerer, especially if you like simple deck construction where you just mash some decks together and a lot of tactical battle goodness. But on the other hand, you might want to avoid this one if you don't like a dose of randomness in your games, or if you're looking for more exciting and interesting card effects. This tends to be very focused on the battles. And if you want to see the game in action, specifically the co-op in Endbringer, and see how dang tough it can be sometimes, watch my recent play video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.